What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing my 2022 SEC college football predictions. I did my ACC yesterday, and they were pretty successful as I did both conferences. But today I'm going to be doing the SEC. I think that's a little bit more of a well-known conference. It's one of the most iconic conferences in college football of all time, with powerhouses like Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M, and other teams like that. But this is a fun conference. There's a lot of great, amazing teams, and it's going to be expanding soon with Oklahoma and Texas in the near future. But without any further ado, let's get into it. In the West, in first place, we got Alabama going 12-0. And this is really simple to say. I mean, Alabama, the college football record or schedule makers need to make Alabama's schedule tougher. Like, the fact that they're not playing Georgia, or the fact that they're not playing Georgia is just a little annoying. Like, the Texas A&M is going to be tough for them. That will be a real challenge. Arkansas will be a challenge, and Auburn is always a challenge at the end of the year. But like, this Alabama team there's no reason why they shouldn't go 12-0. Texas A&M always gives them trouble. They beat them in the last two seasons, but I think this year they're playing in Bama, which is a lot different than playing in Texas A&M, because A&M is probably the toughest stadium to play in, and a lot of players have said that, especially from Alabama. But playing at home field, and Alabama has, I think, a better team. While Texas A&M has still an amazing team, they've gotten a lot better. Alabama also is still an amazing powerhouse team. I think Alabama comes for revenge. These Utah State will be a blowout. Texas will be a decent game, but Alabama will still win by probably 20. These two games will be blowouts. Arkansas, I like what they got with KJ Jefferson, I believe their quarterback is. But Arkansas won't have enough, and Alabama will win. Texas A&M, like I said, it will be a great game, but give me Alabama. Tennessee and Mississippi State are fun, developing teams, but Alabama still beats both of them, no problem. Ole Miss and LSU are also two teams that have given Alabama trouble in the past, but Bryce Young and all these amazing players, Will Anderson Jr., they got Jahmyr Gibbs from Vanderbilt. Give me Alabama easily. And then Austin Peay State will be a demolition bomb. Alabama will win 62-8. Auburn and Alabama will be another good game. Last year it was such a good game, but Auburn is just not really progressing as a team. Like, they haven't been a powerhouse school for the past few seasons. Like, really, in the past 5 years, 3 years, I would say, Auburn hasn't really gave Alabama competition in the conference. Now, Auburn always makes the game close, but I still think Alabama wins it like last year. Texas A&M is a really good team. I mean, there is no doubt in my mind that Texas A&M will be in the college football playoff race. But then again, having to play Alabama and Ole Miss and Auburn is really going to wear down this team. I think the first three games they'll win pretty easily. Miami will be tough, but I think A&M pulls it out in the end. Arkansas, again, is a developing great team, but Texas A&M is still amazing. Mississippi State is also another young, good team that I like. Their defense is good, but A&M still a powerhouse. And then this will be the game of the year, I believe, but I think Alabama barely wins. They get the bye week, and they have the South Carolina game. South Carolina is a much better team than last season, and they've gotten so much better since like 3 years ago. But A&M, I'm still taking. And then these two games will really wear down this A&M team. I mean, two really physical Ole Miss and Florida teams, and you're playing at home, and then you have to go to Auburn to play Auburn. And I think Auburn takes this game. I mean, A&M is going to be worn down physically as they have to play two of the two really great teams in Ole Miss and Florida. And I think Auburn upsets them. UMass will be a landslide, and LSU will also be a good game, but give me A&M. And then we got Arkansas. I think Arkansas, they're a good young team. I mean, KJ Jefferson is an amazing quarterback. He'll be one of the top quarterbacks in this draft. Cincinnati will really be the game like to determine how good Arkansas will be. Because if they can't take down Cincinnati, I do think it will be more of a 7-5 season. I think they win these first three games. A&M will be a very tough game. A&M and Alabama will be the toughest stretch of the season. I mean, they'll be so worn down that I wouldn't be surprised if they lose this game. Um, but A&M and Alabama will be two incredibly tough games. I think they beat Mississippi State very closely. Like I said, they'll be worn down from these games that they'll only beat Mississippi State by maybe like 7 or 3. Brigham Young, they're not. They haven't been good. They haven't been amazing since Zach Wilson. They're still a good team from the independent conference, but give me Arkansas. They get the bye week, and Auburn, again, will give them trouble because Auburn gives a lot of good teams trouble. They just can't seem to beat the teams that they should beat. But in the end, I think Arkansas wins closely, a lot like this Mississippi State game. Liberty will be an easy win. LSU will be a very tough win, but in the end, Ole Miss will be really tough, a really tough game. I mean, Ole Miss is a physical, good, young team. They got a great offense, a very, very high-powered electric offense, and then they'll beat Missouri. And then moving on to LSU. LSU is a good team. I mean, they lost their coach, of course, but they produced the most like NFL talent like that we've seen in like a long time. Like they produce so many good NFL players that they're gonna beat good teams because their players are ready for the big leagues. While they're gonna upset some teams, and that's why they're gonna upset teams like Florida and Ole Miss, and because their players are ready for the NFL and they're good players. Just sometimes they don't always play the best and they lose. They're going to lose to Alabama and Arkansas and A&M because those are three amazing teams. But I think in the rest, I think this is pretty fair. Ole Miss, Ole Miss is a good team. They lost Matt Corral to the draft, but they brought in some young talent from the transfer portal, and they had a good recruiting system. They have a good recruiting system. I think Kentucky gets the best of them, but I think for the most part, they're going to lose to the teams that they should lose, but they'll beat the teams that they should beat. This is going to be a good game, Ole Miss and Arkansas. I think in the end, Ole Miss pulls it out. And then always Mississippi State and Mississippi games are great, but in the end, give me Ole Miss. Auburn hasn't been elite in a while, but like they have like a really tough schedule. Like I mean, 6-6 is a nice because like that is nice to say that for them because this team is just such a tough schedule. I mean, these first two games will be easy, but then you have Penn State, and then you move on Missouri, then you have LSU, then you have Georgia, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Mississippi State, A&M, Western Kentucky, and then Alabama. So I think all these games are going to wear them down. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose like this game or something from all the physical wear from these amazing teams. It's going to leave a lot of fatigue. I think Auburn still will in the end have an amazing season and go 6-6 because considering the schedule, they're guaranteed to lose at least 4 of these games. And I think it's nice to say that they'll go 6-6 because they very well could lose to Western Kentucky. They very well could lose to Texas A&M. They probably won't lose to Western Kentucky. I'm pretty sure, but they definitely could lose to A&M. They definitely could lose to Mississippi State. I think I already described why they'll beat A&M. And then Mississippi State, a good young team. They're developing. I think they'll be good in the near future. A good 6-6 season. Again, another tough schedule: Georgia, Bama, Texas A&M, Kentucky, LSU. It's going to be tough for them to win more than 6 games because I don't think it's physically possible. Like unless they beat Auburn or Ole Miss, which could happen, but it will be tough. Moving on to the East, you got Georgia. Georgia, again, I have them going 12-0. They are an amazing team, and they lost a lot of talent, but then again, their schedule is so much easier than all the Western teams' schedule. Like the toughest opponent is probably Oregon, and I think they beat Oregon by maybe 10. But their schedule is too easy for them not to go 12-0. I could see Alabama losing at least 1-2 games, but Georgia has no excuse to lose any games. I think it's that simple. Their schedule is very easy, and they should be beating Kentucky and Florida and Tennessee because they're a much far better team. Tennessee coming in second and 8-4. Tennessee's a good. I like that Tennessee. They're a good team. They got some young talent, and they got a very versatile offense that they've been building around for the past 2 seasons. Um, but I think these first 4 games they'll win pretty decently. Pitt will be a tough game, and Tennessee playing Florida will always be a tough game. They get the bye week. Then they have LSU. LSU and Bama will be a tough 2 stretch of weeks because LSU, they're a team, like I said, they have NFL talent. Like, if you underestimate a team like LSU, they will make you pay because they're just so talented. Just sometimes they don't show up. But I think, easily. I think LSU will get the best of them, and then they have to play Alabama. I do not remember the last time Tennessee beat Alabama. I don't even know if I was alive. Alabama will continue that streak. Then they play UT Martin and Kentucky. They beat UT Martin easily. Kentucky and Tennessee will be a good game, but I think Tennessee is just a little bit more talented, and Kentucky seems to struggle with lower tier. They seem to struggle with teams like Tennessee and Mississippi State. We saw it last season that they were having a great season, and then all of a sudden they would play these teams that weren't so much better than them, but kind of equal or worse than them, and then they would just get shut down offensively. Georgia, they no chance they beat Georgia. Missouri, I think Missouri's a weaker team. I think they'll beat them. South Carolina's a fun team. They got a lot better since last year. And then Vanderbilt, they'll beat easily. Florida's a good team because Florida always will be like a bowl game team. They'll never be worse than 6-6, 5-7. Anthony Richardson coming in at quarterback will be decent. I don't love Emory Jones. I'm hoping Anthony Richardson gets the start because I think he could set them up for a 7-8 win season, while Emory Jones barely got them bowling last year. Utah will be a very tough first game. Utah had a very good run last season in the Pac-12, winning the Pac-12. They were a very good team, as I believe they played in the Rose Bowl last season. But Utah shut down offenses. Like, the best offenses that they played, they were able to shut down. They have a very good defense. They lost some talent on defense, but they're still known for bringing in good guys and recruited. I think that'll be a tough game for Florida to win. They play Kentucky. Kentucky will also be a tough opponent, but I think in the end, if they're playing in their own stadium, Kentucky, if you shut them down to make them one-dimensional, it will be an easy win because Kentucky is really run heavy with Chris Rodriguez, but then again, him being out, Will Levis is a good quarterback, but it will be a close game. But Florida, I think in the end, will win. South Florida and Florida will be a landslide. Florida will win. And then they play Tennessee. Tennessee gave them a hard time last year. And I think this is a game where it's going to be tough to win because Florida, now they're a good team, but Tennessee's just getting better and better each season. I don't think they win that game. And then they got these next 2 games will be easy. LSU and Georgia and A&M is a very tough stretch. I think they'll lose all 3. And then going into that next week of practice, they'll have to rethink their whole team. And I think they get 3 easy wins. Kentucky's a tough team because they have a very tough schedule. And their roster is good, but like when you're in the SEC, it's hard to win more than 6-7 games when you're playing Alabama and A&M and Georgia. They'll win the first 3 out of the 4 games will be easy. Florida will give them a tough time. Ole Miss, they'll win. South Carolina, they'll win. Mississippi State gave them a real tough time last year. Mississippi State has a great defense, and I think Kentucky will not benefit from that, as well as Tennessee. I think Tennessee, last season, these were 2 teams that Tennessee and Mississippi State really stopped Kentucky offensively. Now, Kentucky has a good defense, but give me these 2. Get Tennessee and Mississippi State taken. Then we got Kentucky and Missouri. Kentucky should win that, as well as Vanderbilt. And then Georgia and Louisville is a tough stretch. 2 very amazing offenses that they're playing, as well as good defenses, specifically Georgia. And I think facing the amazing defense of Georgia and then having to face the amazing, versatile, dual-threat offensive hosted by Malik Cunningham will make it really tough for them to win those two games. In the end, they'll go bowling. South Carolina, another good team, just an amazingly tough schedule. It's tough to be a very good team when you're playing A&M and Florida and Georgia and Arkansas. But in the end, I think 6 games is fair. Beating Georgia State, Charlotte, South Carolina State, Missouri, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee. I think those all should be wins. But teams like you never know when you're playing teams like Kentucky and A&M and Clemson. But 6-6, I think is fair. Missouri's never really been. Sorry about that. Missouri's never been really a. They've never really been a great team. I mean, they're kind of always mediocre. Sorry for that pause right there. That was a weird glitch. But I think Missouri in the end they'll win the games they need to win. Vanderbilt, New Mexico State, Bellarmine Christian, Louisiana Tech. Those are easy wins. And then Vanderbilt, the worst team in the FBS, they will lose to Hawaii, which will be a terrible morale booster. The college football schedule makers were nice enough to have them play Elon, and then they'll play Wake Forest. They'll get killed. Northern Illinois will be a close game. And then these next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games will all be blowouts. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. The SEC championship game will be Georgia and Alabama. Now, this is going to be a toss-up. It was amazing last season. In the end, I got Alabama because Georgia lost a lot of talent defensively, and I like Stetson Bennett, and I like their offense, but they lost a lot of talent, and Alabama definitely has the better recruiting. Give me Alabama in a close 34 to 22 game, 34-28. I'm going to go with. But I definitely could see Texas A&M and Arkansas making a run. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you be sure to leave a like on the video, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what conference to do next. I'll do any one you guys suggest, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.